Hello, I'm Colin Knox from the Graduate School of Public Policy, Nazarbayev University, and I introduce our paper entitled Sustainable Development Goals and Good Governance Nexus, Implementation Challenges in Central Asia, co-authored with my colleague Cyril Oraz-Galiev from the same school. Our key findings are, despite the global reach of Transforming the World 2030, there is no one-size-fits-all model. Global governance is critical to the successful implementation of sustainable development in the form of robust state institutions to undertake transformative change. Regime types and state capacity impact on the implementation of SDGs. And finally, there's the normative imperative, given the indivisibility of SDG goals, to promote democracy as an enabling framework for the successful implementation of Transforming the World 2030.
Dear editors, board members, authors, and readers of PAD, happy 75th anniversary. As we mark this significant milestone, it's important to reflect on the journal's progress toward gender equality, which remains a critical challenge globally, even in rich countries like Korea and Japan. What do we already know? What gaps remain? And how can PAD continue to advance this scholarship? Our analysis offers three insights. 1. Women's participation in leadership is low. 2. International development efforts play an essential role. 3. Government policies are important for progress. We also identified research gaps and future research focus. It's clear that the PA research community, especially the PA schools, could do more to advocate for gender equality. Congratulations to PAD, and thank you.
In this article, we aim to identify the changing barriers and facilitators that have contributed to gender inequality and the underrepresentation of Afghan women in public administration over the last 75 years under different regimes. We focus on one specific question. Over the last 75 years, what factors have contributed to the underrepresentation of Afghan women in public administration? To answer this question, we applied a two-step methodology. First, we developed an analytical framework of barriers and facilitators of women's representation in public administration. Second, we applied such a framework to the case of Afghanistan. In particular, this analytical framework was used to analyze relevant administrative documents and academic contributions. One of the main contributions of this study to global literature, especially for non-Western and Islamic countries, is how wrong interpretations of Islamic studies using religion as a tool to gain power and political changes can impact women's representation in public administration. Our key findings showed that the representation of Afghan women in public administration has been limited and passive in terms of both numbers and impacts. In particular, the socioeconomic and political realities, including regime change, have contributed to gender inequality and the underrepresentation of Afghan women in public administration.
Public administration is changing and fast. Our latest study, published in the 75th anniversary issue of Public Administration and Development, dives deep into how the field has evolved over the last decade. Using cutting-edge tools like dynamic topic modeling and named entity recognition, we analyzed over 5,600 articles from 9 top public administration journals between 2010 and 2022. We discovered that governance approaches, leadership, performance management, and healthcare have been central to the conversation, especially post-COVID. But
here's the kicker. Public Administration and Development stands out. Unlike other journals focused on Europe and North America, PAD gives much more attention to developing countries. It's diverse, it's niche, and it's leading the way on crucial issues like anti-corruption, development aid, and policy values. This paper highlights how public administration research must go global and include diverse voices to tackle challenges like the Sustainable Development Goals.
We explore the history of public administration and development from the post-World War II era all the way to today's focus on sustainable development.
We use a two-stage approach to the analysis of articles. In the first stage, we use a structured bibliometric analysis to identify the key topics that have been discussed within the journal, and we present those using word clouds. In the second stage, we use an in-depth analysis to discuss how those topics have evolved and changed over time.
In the thematic analysis of the article, you look at 4 themes. First, what is development? How development is pursued? The role of non-state actors, and how to build institutional capacity in whole society for development.
In conclusion, our piece highlights the evolving relationship between public administration and global development challenges. As we look to the future, we expect research to focus on sustainable development, new governance model, and the impact of non-state actors in shaping public administration in response to complex global issues.
So in this article that we've written for the special issue, effectively what we do is track the evolution of decolonisation in teaching and learning in the journal. Decolonisation of state apparatus gives way to a more nuanced view which locates public administration as a site which needs indigenising. We conducted a narrative review where we analysed 103 articles related to teaching and learning in public administration. We drew out 3 themes: the universality of knowledge, appropriate contextualisation, and the applicability of knowledge and teaching for decolonising countries. Overall, we found that there's been a decline in the number of articles related to teaching and learning, a trend we'd like to see reversed, and we find that there needs to be a decolonisation of teaching and learning that allows people to navigate between imposed and Indigenous frameworks, which both bear upon the effectiveness of administration.
Greetings, everyone. We are Abna from the UK and Mary from South Africa. Our research was inspired by a problem that affects the entire academic publishing sector, the lack of epistemic diversity. What is epistemic diversity? Well, epistemic diversity is about integrating all voices into the knowledge-making process, including those of marginalized groups, such as non-Western scholars, indigenous and local groups, practitioners, and of course, service users and citizens. This has been a key mission of PAT since its inception. Therefore, the central research question to our study was, how can we ensure that marginalized groups publish in public administrative journals and thereby contribute to shaping the discourse? So what have we found? Well, we identified 6 criteria that can help authors, reviewers, editorial boards, and editors to recognize marginalized speakers as knowers and integrate their voices into academic debates. So what contribution do these findings make then? Well, they inform actionable steps to ensure that marginalized groups too can shape our knowledge on public administration and development.
Motherhood in academia remains vastly underrepresented in both developed and developing countries. Key career opportunities for women often coincide with childbearing and rearing years, diminishing academic mothers' abilities to meaningfully contribute to public administration.
Using comparative administrative law, we developed a typology of environments academic mothers navigate, and we investigated the historical, cultural, and structural factors perpetuating this inequality. Through this, we highlighted the biases and discrimination faced by academic mothers.
Rigid academic calendars and budgets, legal loopholes, and a lack of benefits lead to job insecurity and coerce academic mothers into surrendering their maternity leave. But equitable implementation of policies across departments, universities, and governments can create a mother-friendly and inclusive environment.
Changing the culture of academia will not be easy or cheap because sexism is embedded in the bones of our system.
We must normalize motherhood throughout academic society, from graduate students to university presidents.
Governments, associations, and universities must act upon this demand for change. Now is a time for reckoning.
Now is a time for reckoning.
Now is a time for reckoning.
Hi, this is Aisha, sir. I'm working as associate professor at the School of Management and Technology. I and my colleague were interested in taking up the topic of disaster management, and in that particularly the collaborative governance and its connection with the sustainable development goals. Our article was mainly covering the history of the past 25 years. We were actually interested in covering up the 50 years so that we could contribute more towards the 75th anniversary. But because of the limited number of papers published in the before 2000 was the issue that we had to move our focus from 2000 onward till today's date. Our study actually concluded on proposing a research agenda where more research from the multiple contacts should be given more importance and space in the journals, not only in the PAD, but all the other public administration policy journals that are prominent in our field. I'm hoping that once you read our study, give us the feedback and get yourself familiarized with the discussions, and we are hoping that other people will contribute towards this field more. Thank you very much.